Pot roast is such a labor of love. Family style dishes are magical because it evokes memories of my childhood. You can cook a lot of food for a lot of people without spending a whole lot of money, and people will love it. Oh, baby, she's heavy. I'm gonna make one of my favorite family style dishes, which is pot roast. This already smells heavenly. It's gonna be accompanied by whole carrots, Yukon Gold potatoes, and grilled green beans. We're already starting to get some of that beautiful color. A few of my favorite things about family style meals is that one, it's a time saver. You get to beautifully present them on platters and in bowls, and it's a conversation starter. Also, you just have so many great options when it comes to family style meals, from pasta dishes, roasted chicken, and this pot roast dish in specific. Pot roast is just such a comforting meal, reminds me of home. You can get a nice big cut of inexpensive meat, and it also creates leftovers, and we love leftovers. And we're just gonna get right into seasoning it. And what we have here is a little smoked paprika. We're just gonna give it a nice warm kick. Granulated garlic, onion powder. I like to be pretty ambitious with the black pepper because I like spice. Kosher salt. Combine all of these spices together, and I love a good blend of spices. It just adds a lot of oomph and flavor to whatever it is that you're seasoning. And we're gonna rub this right into the meat, give it a chance to kind of penetrate that outer layer, set ourselves up for all that flavor infusion from the slow cooking that's gonna happen later. And you can be pretty generous. Don't save any of the spice blend that you have. You wanna get this all in here, and just make sure you season every side. And this is a beautiful cut of meat. We have a nice little fat cap here, and all that fat is just gonna kind of seep down into the meat as it cooks low and slow. And there we have it. We have our beautiful piece of meat, well seasoned. So we're just gonna move over here to start that pan sear. We have our beautifully seasoned piece of meat here. We have our Dutch oven that's been slowly heating, and I'm just gonna use about 1/4 cup of grapeseed oil. I just wanna make sure the bottom of the Dutch oven is nicely covered. And what you wanna hear is that nice sear as soon as the meat comes in contact with the oil. And the reason we wanna sear is just to kind of start that Maillard reaction where we get that beautiful brown crust and we're developing really good flavor. And what you wanna do is just let your meat rest. You don't wanna move it around too much or it won't brown the way you want it to. This already smells heavenly. So I can already see a little bit of gray forming around the bottom. So I'm just gonna flip this over, and we have a beautiful sear on that fat cap side. Some other cuts of meat that you could use for a pot roast is you can use top round, bottom round. Short ribs are perfect for this. Any meat that's pretty tough lends itself great to this slow cooking process. We're gonna move on to our last side of the beef, and this one's a little unevenly shaped, so I'm just gonna use my tongs to apply some pressure to make sure that it's evenly searing on that side. You can already see that beautiful fond starting to form in the bottom, which is just the caramelized bits of goodness from the meat and some of those spices, and then we're gonna use that to develop our sauce. We're just gonna remove this from the pot, get the rest of our ingredients. And we're gonna start the deglazing process. Going here with our smashed garlic. We've got some bay leaves, some flour. And essentially what we're gonna do is just make a roux on the bottom of the pan before we start to add our liquid. A roux is just equal parts flour and fat. You can use butter, you can use olive oil. It's a nice thickening agent for your sauce. Add our wine. You can just kind of slowly add this. You see that roux start to form on the bottom and it get nice and thick. So when we're deglazing, what we're doing is just getting all that beautiful brown goodness off the bottom, the stuff that's stuck from the seasonings on the meat. Add in our beef broth. And you can use vegetable broth as well. And we have some fresh herbs here. I have thyme and rosemary. Add in some tomato paste, which is just gonna be another thickening agent, also gonna give us just a really good richness to the sauce. Then I also have some Worcestershire, which is packed full of flavor again. We're also gonna go on with some hot sauce, everyone's favorite. Choose whichever one you like. and just go in here with several dashes. So we have all these beautiful things that are working. It smells fantastic. And now we're at the point to where I would give this a taste to check it to see if I need to adjust any salt or pepper before I add the meat back in. Gosh, that tastes wonderful. Take our meat back into this beautiful liquid. Place it right here in the center. We're just gonna go into the oven low and slow on 300, let it cook for about 1.5 hours, and that's gonna be a perfect amount of time to work on some of the other elements of this dish. And we're gonna get some veggies in here and just keep building on the flavor that we already have and just make it that much more comforting. Now we're gonna start preparing some of our veggies that we're just gonna nestle in around it and let them get nice and tender while it finishes cooking the rest of the way. So we have some celery, we have some whole carrots, some Yukon Gold potatoes, and then we have some beautiful Fidelia onions. We're gonna start with cutting up this celery, peel these carrots. And I like to leave them whole because it makes for a beautiful presentation. The carrots are just gonna add a little bit of sweetness to the dish. We have that really rich sauce, and I feel like the sweetness of the carrots are just gonna help round that out. Not to mention carrots have that very subtle earthiness to them. Snip the bottoms off of these. Nip the end off of each of these onions. Take my knife, run it down the side, and that's just gonna assist me in being able to peel off the skin. And we just want to do that outer layer. And I love the sweetness that onions add to dishes, also along with that little bit of a spicy bite that they can lend. And we're just going to quarter these like a big chunky onion situation. And we're just gonna quarter our Yukon Gold potatoes, and they're one of my favorite potatoes because they're silky and just beautifully smooth, and they hold well in the sauce, but they're also like super creamy once they're cooked. And you can also use russets, you can use red skin potatoes. And now we're just gonna nestle in our veggies. Oh, smells fantastic. And the benefit of this one pot cooking is that it's one-stop shop. And you don't really have to nurse it at all. You can just kind of put it in the oven, let it go, and it's perfect when it comes out. So now we have all of these beautiful veggies just nestled in here around this beautiful piece of meat. We're gonna go back in the oven, continue low and slow for about 1.5 hours, 2 hours, or as long as it takes until it becomes nice and tender and just falls apart. And now time for the best part, to check and see for doneness. And no two ovens are alike. So if it needs to cook a little more, you just slide it back in there while you start to work on some of the other elements of your meal. And it's nice and tender, beautiful color, smells amazing, and these vegetables are falling apart, which is exactly what we want. Now that this is beautifully done, we're just gonna let this rest in the back, and it's gonna stay nice and hot for us. And then we're gonna work on our grilled green beans, which is the next part of this meal. The reason I love these green beans is just because Southern meals, you can never have too many vegetables. They're gonna be nice and smoky, tender, and have that beautiful sweetness that green beans do. And all we're gonna do now is just snip off the ends, and you just wanna line them up. Just take your knife, just a little bitty chop there. And what we're gonna do is move over and blanch these so they're nice and tender before we grill them. Add some salt to this boiling water, and that's just gonna impart some flavor to these green beans. Let these cook for about 4 to 5 minutes, and that's just gonna get the cooking process started. We're gonna cook them till they're nice and tender, take them out, put them in the ice bath to stop the cooking process. We're just gonna use a spider here. Spiders are perfect for getting a good amount of whatever it is you're cooking out at once versus using tongs and just being able to get little bits out at a time. And the cold ice water bath just seizes the cooking process. And that way your green beans are beautifully preserved at whatever level of crunchiness you would like to have them at. So we've got these beautiful green beans here in our cooling water, and we just wanna make sure that the cooling process has completely stopped. So we're just gonna let those hang out while we make our sauce. And what we have are just some beautiful elements that work really well together that are gonna give us a nice punch. A little bit of Worcestershire, and you can use a vegan Worcestershire too to make this vegetarian or vegan friendly. And then we have a little bit of honey, just gonna give us the sweetness that we're looking for, kind of round everything out. Crushed red pepper flake to give us a little bit of spice. And you can just kind of gauge how much you wanna use based on your own spice preference. A little bit of olive oil, a little bit of salt. I'm using kosher salt. And then we're gonna grate some garlic into here. And I love to grate the garlic just because I feel like it releases a lot more flavor, and it also gives our sauce a little bit of body. If you get down to the end and you just have a little piece, just go ahead and throw it in. It'll be fine. Give this a little whisk, bring it all together. We're just gonna drain off our excess water before we add them because we don't wanna dilute the sauce too much. Toss these around until they're nicely coated. I love Worcestershire on vegetables. It just does something really unique flavor-wise that I can't explain, but you're guaranteed to be addicted to it if you try it. All right, our green beans are beautifully coated and now they're ready to grill. Crank up the heat just a little bit so we get a nice sear on these green beans because we really want to impart that smoky flavor on them. So we have our nicely sauced beans here. Try to get them in a single layer, but you can easily just continue to rotate them around once you start to see the grill marks on your beans. And we're just gonna let these hang out for 1 to 2 minutes and then rotate them around. These are smelling great. You just kind of move them around as you see them getting a little bit of color. All right, these are looking beautiful. You can see those grill marks. I'm gonna go ahead and turn my heat off and just remove the rest of these, place them back in the bowl with the sauce. We're ready to plate. Now we have all of our dishes ready to be plated. This plate is gonna be perfect because it's small enough that it will hold the green beans, but we also can get some beautiful height as we pile the green beans on high, and then there's a nice lip here that will catch the sauce. And all you wanna do is just start your green beans going one way, and then go the opposite direction. So you're just gonna cross hatch to give you that nice stack that you're looking for. And then we're gonna take the remainder of this beautiful sauce that we made for the green beans to go in and just drizzle it right over the top. And we're just gonna finish these green beans with a little bit of flaky sea salt just to kind of amp up the flavor and make it really pop. And there we have our beautiful plate of green beans. And I've chosen this dish for our pot roast because it's gonna allow us to beautifully display all of those vegetables around the meat. Ah, that looks wonderful, it smells so good. What we're going to do is start by putting the meat in the center of the plate, and then we're just gonna work all these beautiful vegetables around the side of it. And we're plating this all on one dish because it's family style. So it's perfect for passing around the table, or you can have someone designated to help serve everyone if the platter is too heavy to carry. These vegetables smell and look fantastic. And we're just gonna keep working our way around the meat, just building on this presentation. All right, we have our pot roast beautifully plated on this nice platter. And we're just gonna let this hang here for a second while we get our gravy. I'm just gonna tilt our Dutch oven, kind of work my way around some of the residual vegetables that are hanging in here, and just ladle this in. This sauce looks fantastic, and it's gonna be great with the biscuits that I baked off earlier. And this gravy is great because everybody likes a little bit of extra sauce. And now we're gonna move on to garnishing our beef. So we're just gonna take a little bit of our parsley, and then we're just gonna zest about 1/3 of this lemon right on top of it. The greenery is really gonna make this piece of meat and the vegetables around it pop. And now we're gonna take this parsley and lemon zest, and we're just gonna do a rough chop on it. Doesn't have to be minced or anything. We're just gonna run our knife through it a few times, and we're just gonna sprinkle it right over the top of everything. Family-style meals are a great reminder of home. They just evoke so many memories of Sunday supper, weeknight meals around the table, having conversation, and just enjoying really good food. Not to mention, you have endless options from roast chicken to pasta dishes to this beautiful pot roast, which is absolutely life-changing.